Hello, welcome to Learn to Code 2. We are in chapter called Types and activity number 4 called Corners of the World. Corners of the World. This one's a tricky one, but we can get it if we just take our time and especially take time planning what we want to do, have a game plan before we start writing any code. All right, and that planning is going to have to start by us taking a good long look at this map here. I'm going to pan around on it by swiping here, and you notice that really, as the name suggests here, the challenge is going to be to get to the corners and collect all the gems and toggle all the switches in the corners, because if you notice here, there are 4 portals all located relatively close to each corner, and all the gems and all the switches are located adjacent or next to the portals. So we're going to need to basically visit a portal and then go off left, right, up, and down away from that portal at 1 square each and toggle all the switches around them and collect all the gems around them. So that's basically going to be our plan here. Now, to do this the most efficient way possible, though, we also should notice one tricky thing about this map, and that is that this particular corner over here is down on a lower level. And Byte can't get to it by walking at all. So the only way he can get to that lower level is by taking the green portal right over here to transport over to there. So then once he's there, he's stuck on that lower level and he can't get out either. So my suggestion here might be to try to get all the other gems and switches first on this upper level, take care of all those, and the very last thing we'll do is transport ourselves through this green portal here over to this final corner here where we'll pick up these last 4 switches. Okay, so that's the game plan, and it's sort of a big gross overview. Now, how should we do that? Well, if the last thing we want to do is take this green portal here, then it probably makes sense that we want to take care of the switches and the gems around the orange portals first. So the first thing we'll probably want to do is turn right and come over to this corner over here to pick up the switches around this portal and then transport ourselves across to the other orange portal, pick up all the gems around that orange portal, and then walk ourselves over to this green portal, pick up the gems around it, and then finally transport ourselves through the green portal to that lower level and pick up the switches, toggle the switches around that. Okay, so that's sort of our overall game plan. Now, we've been talking a lot in fairly abstract ideas here, like when I say go to a portal and pick up all the gems around it and toggle all the switches around it. There's a lot going on in there that we're going to need to take care of first. So one other thing we should notice here is that there is some symmetry in this map, meaning things on the left are similar to things on the right and so on. For example, if you look at these gems here, there's a portal with 4 gems around it, and then another portal here with just 2 gems on it. And if I swing all the way around here to these switches, there's a portal with, again, 2 switches on it and a portal with 4 switches on it. So we can possibly use those ideas too as we build out the details of this to help make this this job a little more efficient here. Let's get Byte over to this orange portal first of all, so that we can just kind of get a look at what we want to do here. So to do that, we're just going to say turn right, and we are going to want to then move forward, and then move forward will move him onto that orange portal. And I don't want to do that at least while it's active because it'll take us over to the other corner then. So let's go ahead and turn the orange portal. Let's go ahead and say, hey, orange portal, set your isActive property to be false. Okay? And then we can move on to that orange portal by saying move forward. And we can move on to the orange portal because it will be deactivated. Okay, so I'm just going to run this code and get us over there so that we can start thinking about what we want to do here. Okay, it's making the orange portal inactive, and Byte's standing on that orange portal there. Okay, all right, now with Byte standing on this orange portal, we have a couple possibilities. He's going to want to go, forward and toggle that switch, and to the right and toggle that switch. But let's think ahead a little bit here. Like, imagine that we're doing the same thing, but we're standing on this green portal over here. Well, that's going to be something similar. We're going to want to maybe, move left and pick up a gem, and go forward and pick up a gem. So we should probably start thinking about some helper functions that we can do in order to help us do these things. For example, what are the kinds of things we can do that if we're standing on a portal that will let us go toggle a switch or pick up a gem fairly efficiently, and then turn us around and go back to the portal so that we're ready to go do it in one of the other for one of the other gems or switches. So, we know that we're going to want to have a turnaround function because as we go toggle a switch or pick up a gem, we're going to want to turn around. So let's go ahead and do that. Function turn around. And I'm just going to turn right a couple of times to get that one done. Okay, good. So we have a turnaround function. Now, let's say maybe we're going to want a function that will move forward, pick up a gem if there's a gem there, toggle a switch if there's a switch there, and then turn around and move back. Okay, so that's a pretty, maybe something we might want to do here. So func and move, collect, and switch. How about that? Move, collect, or toggle. How about that? Move, collect, or toggle. Okay, and we said that the first thing we're going to want to do here is move forward, and then we want to check and see if there is if we're on a gem. If we're on a gem, then let's go ahead and collect the gem. And if we're on a switch, if we're on a closed switch, then let's toggle the switch. Okay, good. So that will move us forward, toggle the switch or pick up the gem, and then, of course, I think we want to also then turn around and go back maybe, right? So that's why we have our helpful turnaround function, and then let's move forward. Okay, so let's just test this out. He should toggle that switch that's right in front of him if this works. So let's go ahead and call our function here, move, collect, or toggle, just one time. We're in no way, we're just sort of building up to the point where we can write some code that will do all of the switches and gems, but just make sure all this is working fine so far. Okay, good. That's what we want. So he's going to want to do this a couple of times here. He's going to want to pick up the switch going forward, and then also maybe turn left and pick up that one as well. We could have turned right and picked up that switch first also. Let's just remember that we have that choice here, and for now let's keep this like it is. Okay, we've done a lot of our hard work now. We've got a nice function here that if we're standing on a portal, move collector toggle will go pick up a gem or turn on a switch right in front of him, in front of Byte, and we've got a turnaround function as well. So let's go ahead and now tackle the sort of bigger problem of handling each one of these clusters. There are 4 clusters around the outside of this map. There's a cluster here that we're standing on that has 2 switches on it. There's another cluster of 2 things, 2 gems right next to it. And then in the back here of the puzzle, there's a cluster of 4 gems. And then finally, the last thing we're going to do is pick up this cluster of 4 switches. We're going to toggle them down on the lower level there at the very end. So I would like to maybe write a function that handles an entire cluster now. And let's start with a cluster of 2. The hope here is that if we can write a nice function that will handle a cluster of 2, maybe we can write a function that will handle a cluster of 4 by combining 2 calls to our cluster of 2 function. Okay, because if we call our handle cluster of 2 twice, that hopefully, if all goes well, that will be our handle cluster of 4. Okay, so let's write this one carefully. Func handle cluster of 2. Okay, handle cluster of 2. Now, we're going to assume when we come into this function that we're standing on a portal, and we're standing on an inactive portal. Okay, so maybe to handle a cluster of 2, we want to go ahead and collect or toggle the switch right in front of us. So that'll just be a move collector toggle. Okay, and then when we're done with that, we want to just turn left and go get the next one that's facing us off to our left. So let's say move collector toggle there. Okay. Now remember, a move, collect, or toggle it moves forward at the end and jumps onto the portal. So let's run this and we'll see if we might have a problem here. So here he goes. He's coming up, shutting off the portal, and he's going to move or collect or toggle. And, oh, well, we never called our handle cluster of 2. So let's do that right here, handle cluster of 2, instead of just move collector toggle. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, all's looking well. Turns left, move collector toggle, turn around, and move forward. Aha, okay. So that's great. Handled the cluster well. One problem with this is after we're done with this cluster of 2, what we would ideally like Byte to do is as he moves onto that portal at the very end there, we would like that portal to be active so that he would transport over to the other orange portal area, the cluster of 4 in the back, and take care of that. So we have a couple choices here. One is we could easily, inside our handle cluster of 2, we could actually no, the only place we could do that, since this move forward here happens in the move collect or toggle, we might need to move that out of here. We're going to need to move that function, that command out of here, because he's doing that at the end of a move, collect, or toggle. So this will sort of change our whole scheme here. And the behavior of move, collect, or toggle right now is to go ahead and move forward, collect a gem, toggle a switch if it's there, then turn around, and then move back onto the portal. Okay? We want to get this move forward out of here, so Byte will not move back onto the portal at this point. It's going to handle that instead inside handle cluster of 2. Okay? So handle cluster of 2 now needs to move him back after he moves forward, collects or toggles a switch, then he turns around, then he needs to move forward. Okay? Then he can turn left, then he can move and collect a toggle, and then maybe right in here, before he moves forward, we can then set our our orange portals dot is active equals true, okay, before we move forward. Now, this will probably work, but I think there's going to be a problem with this too, and we'll talk about that after we see if this works here. Okay, so ideally, Byte will go handle this whole cluster of 2 here, and then move over and be ready to handle the cluster of 4. Orange portal is still inactive, moves forward, collects or toggles, turns around. Now we set the orange portal to active, and now when Byte moves forward, he's going to end up over there. Good. So he's ready to go. He's ready to go. In fact, what we'd like to do now is after we call handle cluster of 2, we probably would like to handle cluster of 4. Handle cluster of 4. We don't have that function yet. So let's real quickly write this. Handle cluster of 4. We want to be func, just 2 calls to handle cluster of 4. Will be just 2 calls to handle cluster of 2. Okay, so we'll call it first handle cluster of 2, and then since we took our move forward out of there, we're going to have a move forward in between those, and then we'll call our other handle cluster of 2, and we'll see what happens. Now, I can already see what problem we may have here. Well, a couple problems. First of all, after we do this and we move over there, we need to turn our portal off again. Otherwise, as we're handling our cluster of 4, it will be, he needs that portal to be off so that he can keep walking back and forth on top of the portal to handle everything around it. So I'm setting that to be false there. Now, I think I see a problem in here, and it's with this line right in here. What's happening is we have in our side our handle cluster of 2. We are setting the orange portal to be true inside here, so that when we're trying to handle 4, at the end of our handle cluster of 2, we're going to be setting the orange portal to active, and that's going to be a problem. And I'll just show you here by running this what's going to happen. So let's go through here. Okay, turning the orange portal off. Move forward, toggle, collector toggle. Move forward, turn left. Move collector toggle. Turn the orange portal back on. Now we're going to be setting the orange portal to be inactive again, and now we're calling handle cluster of 4, which again is calling handle cluster of 2. Everything looks good so far. But see here at the end, this is going to turn the orange portal on again. So when he goes to try to do it again, he's going to end up over here again. We want that orange portal to stay off. Okay, I'm going to stop Byte here because he's just going to get frustrated. Okay, so I don't think this setting this orange portal to be true can be in here right now. It can be inside the handle cluster of 2. So I'm going to go ahead and move this. So I'm going to cut it. And instead of in there, let's do it after we handle our cluster of 2. Okay, so now when we call our handle cluster of 2 here, after we're done with that over in this lower right-hand cluster, we're going to, before we head back onto the portal, set our orange portal active property be true and move forward onto the portal. Then when we get over to the other, to the back cluster of 4 gems, we'll call handle cluster of 4. Handle cluster of 4 now will correctly handle cluster of 2, move forward without turning the portal back on, and handle cluster of 2 again. So this, I think, we have a little bit more hope of working out how we hope. Let's give it a try and see. Okay, turn the portal off. Go ahead and handle cluster of 2. We know this works out just fine. This time we're saving the turning the active orange portal active to be right now in our main program. Okay, good. I'm going to transport over to the back cluster of 4, calling handle cluster of 2. Then it's going to call move forward and call handle cluster of 2 again. Nice. Handle cluster of 2. Uh-oh. Turned left instead of right there. Okay. Yeah, I was afraid that was going to happen. So this isn't a big deal here because I think, remember, back when we were on this front cluster of 2 here, we said we had 2 choices to handle this cluster. We could either move forward and come back and go left, or we could take a quick right turn and handle the one right in front of us here, and then when we come out, we'll turn right, okay? So, right, handle cluster of 2 now, instead of turning left, is going to turn right, okay? Which means we need to handle the other thing first, so the other switch first, before going straight ahead. So, not a problem. In our main program here, before we move forward onto the cluster and handle cluster of 2, we're going to go ahead and turn right here. Okay, that's good. Now, let's go ahead and see how this works now. Oh, I put that move right. I knew I put that turn right in the wrong spot. Okay. So we want to put the turn right after we move forward here and right before we call handle cluster of 2. So we can put this turn right right down in here. That's fine. But the other place we could put this is right in at the beginning of our handle cluster of 2. That way it'll be called each time handle cluster of 2 is called. And we actually want that because handle cluster of 2 is called in here and handle cluster of 2 is called again in there. So instead of having to put turn right in every one of those places, let's go ahead and move that up inside our handle cluster of 2. The first thing he's going to do is turn right in there. And let's see what happens here now. Turn right, move forward, turn off the portal, move forward. Now handle cluster 2 starts with a turn right. Okay. Handle cluster of 4 will also start with a turn right then because handle cluster of 2 starts with a turn right. So as we come up here, we're going to make the portal active, transport over. Okay, now when we get in here, our handle cluster of 2 will have us turn right. There we go. Now let's see if we handle this cluster of 4 correctly. Going to turn right. Going to come out of here and turn right because it's another call to handle cluster of 2. And then when he comes out of there, it's going to be a turn right too. So this is looking good. Okay, good. It's going to turn around. Now, at this point, we just need to sort of march our way over to clean up this next portal over here. So after we've got our handle cluster of 4, our handle cluster of 4. Let's just move forward, turn left. That'll get us onto the portal. So move forward, turn left. And now we're facing down this path, and we need to move forward 1, 2. 2 more move forwards. Then we'll be right in front of the portal. Move forward, move forward. Now this portal is the green portal. So the green portal, if we say green portal dot, it also has an is active property, and we need to set it to be false. Turn off the portal so that we can do our clean up, our turn right, and our handle cluster of 2 in there. Okay, so let's call handle cluster of 2, handle cluster of 2. Okay, and then remember, before we move back onto the green portal, we need to set its property to be true, its is active property to be true, so that we can transport over to our final place. Is active equals true, and then let's move forward onto that portal. Now, I want to make sure this is all working so far, and that we get finally this last move forward will put us onto the green portal where we'll transport over to the other side, to our last remaining cluster of 4. So here we go. Handle this cluster of 2. Notice how once we have these things written, these functions, we can talk about the procedures in abstract terms. Like I'm saying handle cluster of 2 here, when really there's a lot going on to handle a cluster of 2. Okay? Now we're going to come over here and handle a cluster of 4. Okay? Handle a cluster of 4. We'll do all of its details, even though I'm talking about it in an abstract way. Handle cluster of 4 just works. It just does what it's supposed to do. Okay, now we're done with the handle cluster of 4. We're going to move forward, turn left, then move forward twice. This is in our main program. Turn the green portal off, and now we're going to handle, whoops, we need to move forward first. So good thing we ran this to be sure. I'm going to stop this to be sure it worked okay. We forgot to move forward to get onto the portal before we called handle cluster of 2. Okay, so put one more move forward on there before we call handle cluster of 2, and then everything should work out. I'll run this in faster mode here, make sure it works. Handle cluster of 2. Handle cluster of 4, which is just a handle cluster of 2, with another handle cluster of 2. And then move forward, turn left, move forward, turn the green portal off, handle cluster of 2. Good. All right. Now as we move forward, we're transported over in here. What's the last thing we need to do here? The last thing we need to do is a handle cluster of 4 from where we are now. But before we do that, don't forget to turn the green portal to be inactive. So green portal dot is active is now set to be false. Otherwise, we'll end up just falling back and forth into our green portal all the time. So handle cluster of 4. All right, I think this should run just fine. So let's go ahead and see. This is our handle cluster of 4. And march over here, call handle cluster of 2. Turn the green portal back active. And then call handle cluster of 4. There's 1. Handle cluster of 2. Another handle cluster of 2. And finally, the last switch. There we go. He's got them all. And Byte is very happy. That's a tough challenge there. That's a tricky challenge, but it was made easy by thinking of things abstractly. Okay, we have a couple of ideas that we wanted to think about abstractly. First of all was turnaround. Okay, once we wrote our turnaround code, we could use it. Then we had to think maybe abstractly about these clusters. And what happens in a cluster is if you're standing on a portal, you want to be able to go get all the things around you. Okay, they're all one away from you. So if we wrote a little method called move, collect, or toggle, all that does is move forward, and if it's on a gem, it collects it. If it's on a switch, it toggles it, and then turns around so he's ready to come back. Okay, so that's our abstract idea of just go handle a thing that's in front of you. Okay. Then we wrote a couple of abstract methods here that let us handle clusters. The first one is handle cluster of 2, and we took a lot of care in this one. We refactored it. We wrote it a couple of times and changed some things in there so that we could, when we wrote our handle cluster of 4, we could use our handle cluster of 2 twice. Okay. So very nice. Good job, everybody. This one's a challenge, so if you didn't get it right away or you needed to watch this video to get help, that's totally fine. What we suggest, as always, is you watch the video, you get your code working, and then tomorrow or the next day, you come back and try to do it without the help. If you can't do it, it's totally fine. Come back and try it again until you can do it without the help. Okay? All right, we'll see you next time.